This is the geometry of vocal technique. It should take only a few minutes. The geometry of vocal technique is an idea, a concept, a metaphor that helps you to kind of understand better what vocal training and vocal technique looks like in one visual. So the geometry of vocal technique is the source or the original use of the XY intercept graph that you see throughout the training program. In fact, in regards to your book, it's actually on the back of the book. The reason it's on the back of the book is really no other reason other than it just would be a cool back cover. But you can look at this while you're training and it could be helpful. Let me explain what it's about. If you look at the geometry of vocal technique, the y-axis represents pitch, frequency, register, or up, down, low, high. And the x-axis represents movement through time, of course, because there's nothing any of us can do about the arrow of time. But more importantly, as far as vocal training is concerned, the calibration and tuning of the phonation package, or simply stated, the balancing and tuning of all the technical components in your singing. Things like respiration, resonation, vowel, embouchure, okay, larynx anchoring and positioning, mental attitude, if you're thinking with confident thoughts or if you're handicapped by thoughts, thoughts of fear of singing in front of others, fear of the high note, fear of the passaggio. Those are a few examples of psychological components that can get in our way with singing sometimes. So all of these technical components, physical, acoustic, and sometimes psychological, when they're brought together, they're called a phonation package. They are a package of technical components. All of these technical components in the phonation package need to remain balanced and calibrated and tuned as the voice moves through frequency, up and down through frequency. Now, frequency, the y-axis, is like a constant. We call it a constant. In physics, they refer to the constant sometimes, and those of you that are not familiar with this term, it just means that certain things in nature or physics that are never changing, like gravity, or the nuclear force, or the electrical force that keeps electrons orbiting the nucleus of an atom. There's certain things in nature called constants. Gravity is probably the best example that we're all familiar with. It's never going to change. There's never going to be any technology or anything that will ever change the influence of gravity on anybody's life. So therefore, it's a constant. Now, I've taken this idea of a constant and applying it to vocal technique. And in our training, in vocal technique, in singing, there's a constant. There's something that is ever changing that we can never really manipulate. It will always be the thing that we have to accommodate, and that is frequency. Frequency is a constant. It doesn't matter how great of a voice teacher or singer you are, or how bad you are, what your name is, who you are, it doesn't matter. We are all equal. We all stand on an equal status level to the constant of frequency. The notes on my keyboard, these white and black buttons on my keyboard, are never going to change. I'm not going to walk into my studio one day and play this G4 and suddenly have it give me a different frequency. It will always be a G4, and it will always give me that frequency, and it will always be that note in this position on every keyboard on the planet. So again, that's another example of how frequency, or the tool that is used to play frequency, is a constant. It's forever, never changing. So back to our geography of vocal technique, the y-axis, pitch, frequency, register, represents the constant. It's never changing. And the x-axis is really kind of everything that we're doing here. It represents the vocal technique. All the stuff we're talking about is all kind of happening in the x-axis. So what this geometry of vocal technique is saying, and why it's helpful, is it is basically saying, as we, I guess I can just show you on the back of the book here too, as we go higher or lower in frequency when we're training and singing, the vocal techniques, embouchure, pitch, compression, larynx, vowel, frequency, these things, they all have to move dynamically in a fluid way and remain balanced. We push the voice through the chaos of frequency, or the constant of frequency, and then it's on us. It's our job. It's the premise of the training that we keep the phonation package, the singing voice, calibrated, tuned, and balanced as it goes through frequency. Not an easy thing to do, right? Especially if it's a high note through the passaggio. As we do that, we're going to shift these technical components. The vowel will modify. The tongue inside the vocal tract will make changes to help tune the vowel. The larynx might dampen or anchor a little bit more through the passaggio. The embouchure might change from a wide position to a narrowed snile position for a moment. All of these technical components will change and shift and calibrate to keep the phonation package balanced, to keep you singing great, to keep your voice from breaking through the passaggio and remaining stable. Okay? So in a sense, that becomes the premise of our training. We do onsets and we follow them up with workouts and sirens, or we do onsets and follow it up with singing. And as we do that, we are going up and down through complex melodic patterns. We're changing frequency all the time when we're singing. And the phonation package, the technical components in the phonation package, if you're not trained, if you don't have experience, tend to fall apart. The voice breaks, the vocal folds blow open, and you sound kind of falsetto-y for a moment. You choke or get constricted. All kinds of things can happen. So this intercept graph is just telling us that as we sing and train and we move the voice through the constant and the chaotic nature of frequency, it's on us. It's up to us to train and practice to keep the voice balanced, calibrated, and tuned. All right? And I can leave you with this last little piece on this intercept graph. This little blue bar right here really says it the best. And it says, the phonation package, that's all the technical components that we're learning and training here. The phonation package components calibrate, balance, and tune in relation to each other as they change frequency and move forward in time. So let's go on to the next lesson and ponder that.